Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.
Okay, so today we are going to see what is an annotation. Okay, will sound, no sound. Okay, do you get the sound right now? Okay, okay. So let me take up the advantage to make you understand what is an annotation basically is, and down the line you'll see a lot of annotations, what is annotations and stuff. Okay, so annotation is nothing but a kind of a metadata. Okay, which we are going to. Okay, so it is kind of a metadata which we are going to add it on some methods. All right. So let's see the very first example of an annotation. What is an annotation here? So let me create a new class here. Okay, let me even create a new package here. New package. Let me say it as annotation and finish. Okay. Now let me create two classes, one super class and one subclass. So let me create a class. Let's say uh, I can create the same class as animal. Okay. Uh, and as you know, if you add same file name in two file names in the same folder, you cannot basically do that. Okay. Now, if you can see, already I have created an animal under your which package, that is your methods package. Okay. I have no restrictions to create a new animal class in a different package. Now I'm using a different package out here. Okay. So this is one thing which you need to understand here. All right. So in this annotation also, I'm going to use the same class as animal. Okay. So I created an animal. What I can do, I can basically copy the complete animal class here. I have no restrictions at all. So let me basically use this. I am not interested in any other methods or constructor. So I'm just interested in the properties here. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to create a method. Let's say public void call me. All right. Okay. Otherwise, let's take the same print my behavior. Okay, so I took the same method name here and I'm just going to give a body to it. All right, and I'm going to say sys out, and here I'm going to say here I'm going to say I am an animal. Okay, now as we discussed yesterday that if you can basically extend a class, right? Because you want to do some inheritance. So for that reason, you can inherit a class by saying extends, right? So let me say new class and say dog here. Finish. And even there is an option here. I can say super class as, let's say, animal. Okay. Now you can choose which animal because you have animals in both the places. One in annotation, one is in methods. So I'm only interested in the animal class which is there in your annotation. Okay. So I'm just going to click on this and I got this over here. All right. And finish. Now, let's see what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically uh, use the same method, right? So what it is here, I have got the method as print my behavior. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. All right. Now I have no doubts that, okay, I just copied and pasted. All right. Sometimes what happens is let's say you have got a main method here or, okay, so let me create a main method here. All right. And in the main method, what you do is you just say dog d equals to new dog, all right, and you say here as d dot print my behavior, all right. And you know that very well. If suppose I do not override my method, okay, so if I run this application, if I run this run as Java application, I basically get I am an animal, because it is going to basically invoke the super class method that is my that is a print my behavior, all right. And if you want to override it, you can very well override this by saying copying the same signature from the super class and putting it here and say uh, I'm not an animal, I'm an animal, but in specific I am a dog. Okay. Now, what happens usually, your main intention is to override it, all right? But sometimes what happens is you basically, let's say this method name is pretty big, and all of a sudden you just by mistake, okay, you have not given the name as behavior completely, okay. It is, you have got some spelling mistake here, which you did not basically figure out, or you are pretty much you're doing a lot of coding and you just missed out anyhow, all right. Now if I run this, it's well and good, everything is good. I run this application, run as Java application, I get it as I am animal, okay. And then you come to know, okay, what is the problem? I click here. With the help of this editor, I can easily find out, okay, it is basically going here. It is not coming to this particular method, right? So what I can do, I can come here and I can say behavior. So I'm good right now. The moment I click here, it goes to print my behavior here, all right? But on top of that, if you want to make sure that yes, the method which I have overridden is proper, okay? So what you can do is you can basically annotate with an annotation known as override, all right. Now what did you do? You have annotated this particular method with an annotation as override. That means you are saying that this method has been overridden from your super class, okay. Now let me, so this is well and good. I mean, I have no even problems here, even in my, even though if I don't add this, and if my spelling mistake is good, spelling is good, I have no problems at all. I can even run this application, run as Java application, okay. I have no problems. But what is the use of this annotation? In case you missed out this name, if suppose I'm going to say BEH, I have missed out A, right? During compile time itself, it is going to throw you a compile time error saying that you have annotated this one. The method print my behavior of the type dog must override or implement a super type method. So it very well says you that you are supposed to override it, but you are not overriding, because in the super class there is no method as such as print my behavior. Okay. So what is the use of annotation here? This is one sort of annotation. There are a lot of other behavior of an annotations, which we'll see it one by one. Okay. So here I just told override. That means I am supposed to override the existing method which is there in the super class. Okay. So right click, run as Java application. All right. So this is a small example of what is an annotation. Slowly, when we talk about all advanced Java courses, we'll see a lot of annotations there. So just keep this in mind, that annotation is nothing but a metadata for a particular method. Okay. We are going to see metadata for a particular class also, and whatnot. All right. All right. So this is what all about annotation. Okay. So our next topic will be we already know how to access methods, right? So in the let me come here. Okay, so we even spoke about methods, so let me come here and say calculation. All right, now here uh, I have added a couple of methods. We spoke about a method which is having a return type, a method which is not having a return type, right? So even this is a method which doesn't have a return type, correct? And let's say, let me comment this out. All right. Now, in order to access a particular method, okay, what do you do basically? You create an instance of a method, right? Sorry, method instance of a class, and then you say the reference dot add me, correct? So that's what it happens here. The moment you say add dot add me, it basically invokes this particular method. Okay. Now, here at one point of time, I mean, my functionality is only to add something. Okay. So what I can do is, instead of having this creating an instance, okay, I don't want to create an instance of this calculation. I just want to say calculation dot add two numbers. That's all. But for that reason, what I have to do is I have to say calculation add equals to new of calculation, and then I have to give two numbers to add, right? I can even do it in this way otherwise. Okay, so let's do it in the other way out. Let me take a new package here, right click new package, and say static uh, methods and variables. Okay, let me just make it a static example. Okay, now let me copy the same class. Let's say calculation, right click new class, and say calculate, otherwise calculate. Okay, and I have a public method, main method here. And what am I going to do here? I'm going to have let's say a method, let's say public void add, and this add is going to take two parameters in it. Let's say int I comma int j, and then you're going to say sys out. Okay, and you're going to just say here I plus j. Okay, now what you do basically from your main method, or you can even have an external class also, from where you can basically create an instance saying calculate calc equals to new calculate, and then you basically say calc dot add by saying here 2 and 3. Okay, now what I can do, if I have it in the on the method level, I can create only one instance, and what I can do, I can say and this and this. So I can say here 4, I can just say 5 here, right? So moment I run this, run as Java application, I say 5 6 7 here. Okay, so this is very simple. I just created a method, and I'm just trying to access that particular method using the reference of that particular object. Okay, now what is the other way out? I don't want to create an instance of a particular class. Okay, I don't want to create a memory space somewhere in the in the heap. Okay, so what I can do is I will just make this particular method as static. All right, now if I make the method as static, I have no changes here at all. If I even run this application, I'm good here. I can say 5 6 7. I have no problems at all. Okay, but what is the other way out of accessing this particular static method? Okay, we're talking about method which is static. Okay, now what I can do, let me just keep it as it is. So let me only keep it only one method here, and let me say accessing static methods. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say calculate calculate dot add. All right, I'm going to say 23 and 2, right? So let me run this, right click, run as Java application. Okay, so what is the conclusion here? When your method, now let's say, let me even remove this right now. Okay, so when I remove this, what do you get? You are okay with this, but what happens when you remove this? You basically get a compile time error, okay, which says cannot make a static reference to a non-static method. All right, so it says that you cannot make a static reference to a non-static method. That means we are basically calling a method which is not static. All right, so in order to make your methods as static, okay, if you make your methods as static, so directly you can access those things. All right, but there is no restriction for you to not even make the instance of the class and invoke that as well. You can even do it in this way. Okay, but when usually what happens, you just want to do some calculation. Okay, so you don't want to do anything apart from that. So you basically create a static method, okay, and you basically access those methods. All right, you do not create a reference of an object of that particular class. Okay, now the same thing goes for your instance variables also. Okay, if you say int I, or let's say int value, okay, just a value. All right. Now what I can do here is, if this is not a static, okay, let me take a new method here, public void subtract, and give the value. Can we have a static method that contains local variable that are non-static? We'll see that right now. Okay. Okay, so public void subtraction int I comma int j. All right. Now what I can do here is, this is a non-static method, and I want to say sys out. Okay, I want to say uh, value plus, this is, I'm going to say I plus j. Okay. Now what I can do, if suppose I have initialized this value as 100. Okay. So what I can do basically, if you can see here, if this particular variable is a non-static, I can variable access this here, even though if I make this as a static, okay, I have no restriction in accessing this one. All right. But we'll see one more thing here. If you have a, let's say this method is static, I'm making this a static and remove this. Okay. You basically get a compile time error. Okay, it says that cannot make a static reference to a non-static field. Did that answer your question? Okay, so here the objective is, if you have a static method, okay, uh, okay, there is a reason behind this, okay, which we are going to discuss it right now. Okay, let me before that say this is static. Right now, what I can do here, when a method is static, without even creating an instance of a particular method, I can basically access the method. Sorry, yeah, access the method. The same thing goes here also. If suppose I want to say sys out, and I want to say calculate dot, I want to say copy this dot value, right? I don't have to create an instance of that particular class in order to access the value of the variable. Okay, this is not an instance variable right now. This is a class variable. We have already discussed this yesterday. Okay, now right click, run as Java application. You get the value as 100. Okay, now coming to going back to the very first class. Okay, uh, what is this public static void main? Okay, now I can answer you, or I can make you explain properly what is the use of your public static void main. Okay, now as you know, at this point of time, the moment you say static to a method, you don't have to create an instance of that particular method. Okay, so what happens basically when you run this particular class in the virtual machine, okay, the virtual machine basically I mean, he doesn't. I mean, first of all, he will not even create an instance of the class. Okay, so without even creating an instance of the class, what he is going to do is he's directly going to access this method. Now, if this method is not static, what virtual machine has to do? He has to create an instance of the class and then say main method. Okay, so something like someone has to say calculate. Okay, and calc dot main. All right, so even there is no harm in doing this. All right, from technical perspective here, But virtual machine doesn't want to create an instance of that class. Instead, he want to access the particular main method, which is the starting point of any of the program, by directly accessing the main method, and the main method is static here. All right. Okay. Did that clear things on the static? We have got one more thing on static also, which we'll see right now. And we even had a discussion yesterday about we spoke about the methods how to access it also, right? Even a non-static method. For a non-static method, you have to create an instance here. All right, now uh, we spoke about static. We spoke about static variables. We spoke about the static methods. We are good here, right? Now in Java, you so question is, in real-time application, when to use static variables? Okay, now it's a good question. Okay, there's a question here that in real-time application, when to use a static variable. All right. Uh, Now let's say in this example, let me even remove this. Uh, I want to say here that the number of times, let's say how many times, let's say you have used calculation right now as add. Okay, I can say add again, right? I can say 3 and 2. Uh, Now what I want is, the moment I say add, all right, I want to basically access, or I want to increment this value. Okay, so I say in add value plus plus, and let's say this value is, okay, let me just change the signature, change the name here. Let me say it as count call. So why did I made it as count call? Because I want to check how many times this particular calculation has been done. I mean, how many times somebody has invoked this calculate method to calculate it. Okay, count call and count call. So I want to understand here that, okay, after this I'm going to tell you the real example. Okay, but this is real example we'll see down the line also. But this is kind of a example which you can easily understand at what point of time we'll use it. Okay, now here I'm saying count call plus plus. The moment I call add, I'm basically incrementing this call. Okay, so I have used this calculation method multiple times. Let's say down the line you are very curious to know how many times you somebody, or how many times the clients have basically called your add method, because your add method is very precious and you want to know how many times somebody has called it. Okay, now if I run this application now, let's see what's going to happen here. This value is 0, let's say. Right click, run as Java application. All right, now what do you get the value here? So let me say count total count is so and so. So what I can do, right click, run as Java application. Okay, now it says count 3 is total count is 3. Why? Because you have accessed this 3 times. Now in real time what happens? Let's say in you are holding a website. Okay, now you want to count how many times your website has been hit. Okay, or at one point of time you want to get the count of how many requests you have got. All right, at those point of time, usually what happens, you create a static variable when you talk about Java. Okay, and you keep incrementing. Supposedly you get a lot of requests from a lot of places, so you keep incrementing the count there. So when you make a static variable, anyone accesses, let's say creates an object, let's say somebody is accessing your website and saying calculate.add, right? So you are giving the response to them by saying, giving some information, but apart from that, you want to say, okay, how many times somebody has created an instance of the, invoked the method as add. Okay, so in real time, whenever you have a static variable, okay, and static variables are very important to understand because usually the application you have to understand at what point of time you need to use a static variable. Okay, so in this case, my objective is to keep a hold of the count. Okay, for that reason, I'm just incrementing these values. Okay, did that partially answer your question? Okay. All right. Now, uh, when I spoke about static variable, static method, there is something as static. Okay, so in Java, you have something like static block. So this is known as your static block. Okay. Now, what you can do in your static block, let's say what's going to happen. I'm just going to say sys out. Okay, and why I'm able to access uh, the method system.out. Okay, so if you even open this, where is that? OUT system.out. Okay, now, okay, so if you can see here out, okay, this is kind of a variable which is present in your system. Okay, that is your java.lang.system. In this is also static. For that reason, I'm directly able to access uh, the variable that is a system.out. Okay, now as you know, in the example here, if this is not static, if you remove this, yeah, there's some question coming up. I'll just answer right now. If I remove the static here, and you can see I'm getting some compilation issues, right? Let me make it a static here. All right. Now, if okay, if I remove it, you can see in the static block I cannot access a non-static variable. When I make it a static, I'm able to access it. The same way inside a static, okay, I can directly access anything here. Right now, if I say let me use it here and say plus count call. Right now, let me take what is this? Duplicate. Okay, duplicate variable. Delete this. Let me take int. Let's say non-static. Okay, equals to 0. Let me try accessing it here also. Okay, so I'll just say non-static. All right. Now I know very well that I cannot access a non-static variable from any of the static blocks. Okay, it could be a static block, it could be a static method also. All right, so the question right now is, so in this way, can we check how many times a particular word in the web page, comes? What does this mean, Harpreet? You can ask me the question, unmute yourself and ask the question.
Actually, if we are working on some web page and we want to count the number of particular words, say if we are working on some web page for searching for something, if we open a page with the Java search and we want to count the word in Java in the web page, how many times the word Java comes out. So can we count the particular string or word in this way? If we count this count call like that?
Not, I mean, see, when we talk about counting a word, there are different ways of doing it. You can directly read those words and you can basically count it. I mean, there is an option. Yes, even you can use that as well. But usually you don't use it for that. Okay, I mean, you can simply use a normal counter also by saying I plus plus, wherein you can basically understand, or you can easily know how many times a word is present in your web page. Okay, you basically don't use it for that particular purpose. All right.
Okay.
All right. So Now, let me take a constructor also here. Okay, so let me take a cal constructor. Okay, let me do one thing. JRE runtime.java. Right. Let me go to the package navigator. Okay, and create a new class with a static block. Okay, so I created a class, a static block. Let me remove it from here and copy this and push it here. Okay, so what did I do? I just pushed this particular static block somewhere here. So, and let me have count call over here also. And let me initialize this value to, let's say, 0. Cannot make a static reference. Okay, sorry. So this is your int, static int, and so and so. All right. So on top of that, let me add a constructor here. So I'll say static block as a constructor here. Okay. Now remove this, and in the constructor, let me simply say sys out. And I want to say I am the constructor. All right, and here instead of this one, let me say sys out, and I want to say I am the static block. I am the static block, and that's all. All right. So what did I do? I created a this is also not required as of now. I created a static block, I created a constructor, and I created a main method. And in the main method, I'm going to say static block SB equals to new static block. Now I'm going to say SB. That's all. Okay, my program ends here. So what I did is, the moment I say static block SB equals to new static block, that means I'm creating an instance of this particular class. So the moment I create an instance of this class, you know that the constructor gets invoked. All right. So if you simply say like this, okay, will your object gets created here? Right click, run as Java application, right? Nothing. Okay. Now, but what happens here, even though you do not create an instance of your class, your static block is the one which will be executed first. Okay, in the life cycle of your class, if you have a static block, okay, your static block will be executed first. And if you see this, if I run this application right now, run as Java application, even before your constructor is getting executed, right, your static block is going to get executed. Okay, now the way if you want to initialize something here, initialize some values, you can initialize it here with your constructor. But way before that, if you want to do something on this, let's say you want to have some connection, when we talk about JDBC, I'll use the same static block there in order to get the connection. Okay, so just stay tuned. We'll talk about this. The actual use of it is in your subsequent classes when we talk about your JDBC, when we talk about some of the classes in your Java database connectivity. Okay, so just at this point of time, understand that when you have a static block, okay, even before creating an object of that particular class, it invokes the static block. All right. So any questions from anyone? All right. I don't see any questions. All right. Okay.
H2K Infosys, provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.